So Yuu Otosaka is kinda just a lost cause, but he has this wild trick and can jump into someone else's body. But there are a few snags, and he only gets like 5 seconds inside, then he has to actually eyeball the person before he can take over their controls. Then his whole vibe totally changes when he bumps into this girl who shows him a whole new world full of cool powers and helps him level up into some crazy strong big deal ability user. So like every morning, Yuu starts his day trying to get a peek up girls' skirts around town. For Yuu, that's just his usual thing, being the sneaky invisible perv who hops into bodies for a quick 5 seconds. And during that time, Yuu would either try to peek at a girl's private stuff, or maybe start beef with guys he didn't even like. But honestly, that wasn't even his main gig because he mostly used his power for cheating hardcore on tests. So whenever there was an exam, he'd just hop into some smart kid's head for 5 seconds, and after he was back in his own body, he'd quickly jot down all their answers onto his own paper. That's pretty much how Yuu just finessed his way to being the top dog in middle school. Still, that wasn't the big plan, and what Yuu really wanted was to scam his way into one of Japan's top 10 fancy high schools. But the only issue was, since he could only take over people he'd already seen, he was kinda cooked when he realized he wouldn't know which genius to hijack in the huge entrance test hall. But, being basically evil, AFU cooked up a slick solution super fast. So step 1 of his big brain move was changing his look and crashing cram schools so he could blend in. After that, step 2 meant making a hit list of the top students aiming for his dream school, making sure he had the perfect targets all set for body snatching when the moment was right. Then a few days later at the entrance ceremony, Yuu finds himself sitting with the other kids who got into Hoshinumi Private High School. The announcer calls his name, asking Yuu to come up and give a speech as the new student big shot. And as he walks up there, everyone else, especially the dudes, are glaring at Yuu, knowing he gets more girls than a rock star. Yuu's huge ego is super obvious in his welcoming speech. So during class, Yuu gets a text. He sighs like he couldn't care less, and Yuu figures getting texts from girls is just a regular Tuesday because he's not only the smartest kid, but basically the school's main stud. Still not wanting to keep his fangirl waiting, Yuu decides he'll go meet her, planning to totally ghost her hopes and send her off crying. Then showing up at the spot, Yuu finds the girl in a chill area and asks her straight up why she's blowing up his phone like some psycho GF. And in reply, the girl nervously mumbles something about wanting him to knock her up. Yuu is totally grossed out and shuts her down hard, saying he'd rather just stay single forever than date someone he thinks looks like a monster. So facing that brutal rejection, the girl completely loses it and bolts, probably to start some dramatic glow-up montage. Yuu just watches her go and smirks. Like, why would he even bother with a girl who looks like a lizard when he's totally crushing on the most popular girl in school, Yumi Shiryanagi? So today, instead of just staring at Yumi like she's a masterpiece, Yuu decides it's time to slide into her DMs in real life. And as Yumi and her friend are waiting for the bus, Yuu watches for the perfect moment. So when a truck rolls up down the road, hello plot twist, Yuu instantly sees his chance to maybe get lucky with Yumi. Then he puts his plan into action, and he jumps into Yumi's friend's body and makes her peace out. Then he hops into the truck driver and aims the truck right at Yumi. Of course, just when the truck's about to flatten her, Yuu pops back into his own body and shoves Yumi out of the way, making it look like he just pulled off a heroic save from a gnarly accident. So as Yumi is trying to figure out what just went down, Yuu asks if she's good. Then Yumi's friend runs back and snaps her back to reality, pointing out how Yuu just saved her from becoming a flat pancake. Yuu jumps in, helping Yumi up and taking her to the nurse to get patched up. And when they come out, Yumi shyly tells Yuu she wants to thank him for saving her from getting yeeted to another world as furniture or something. But being a pro at fake charm, Yuu pretends to turn her down, saying he doesn't want to be a hassle. Yumi, totally clueless about his whole scheme, insists on repaying him. Eventually, Yuu reluctantly agrees to go get pancakes with the school's #1 hottie. So, at the pancake place, Yuu gets ready to smash his food like he's in an eating contest. But Yumi quickly stops him and shows him the proper way to eat pancakes. Even though he hates her style, Yuu piles on the praise about how creative she is with food because he knows the fastest way to a girl's good graces is just agreeing with whatever she says. Then as they're about to leave, Yumi asks if they can link up every day after school. Yuu agrees, thinking he's totally got Yumi wrapped around his finger. So the next day, Yumi apparently unable to see the huge red flags around, Yuu texts him asking to walk home together. When Yuu gets the text, he starts cackling like a total menace before realizing people can actually see him. Then before he gets a chance to take Yumi somewhere, Yuu gets called into the student council office. Inside, Yuu finds himself looking at the council president, who's holding a stack of papers. The president tells Yuu, sounding all official, that since he got the top score, he now has to retake the test right there to prove it. He explains that if Yuu doesn't get over 90%, he's getting expelled for cheating. Realizing he's trapped, Yuu sits down to try the test, but basically bricks it when he sees the questions are way too hard for his small brain. So wanting to cheat again, He possesses the president's body only to find out that instead of serious thinking, the president is busy checking out some spicy pics. Yuu is annoyed and rips up the magazine, then jumps back into his own body. But just as he snaps back, this girl with light blonde pigtails pops up next to him holding a camera. She says she's now Tomori from another school and shows him videos of him using his powers. Busted by this new girl, Yuu takes off running like a ninja, but quickly figures out someone super fast is chasing him. When Yuu stops to catch his breath, he gets yanked up and dragged across a lake like a caught frog. Then, looking up, he sees a dude in nerdy glasses staring down at him. The guy introduces himself as Yuu Otosaka and explains his powers running insanely fast, like he just got caught doing sus stuff online by the cops, but he hasn't figured out the breaks yet. So when Yuu asks what they want from him, Now just appears out of nowhere and says he's transferring to Hoshinumi Academy, a school for kids with powers. She also spills that these powers are actually like a sickness that disappears once they hit puberty. Now adds she already got a green light from his guardian. Yuu gets heated and tries to fight Now, but before he can swing, Now vanishes and proceeds to beat him up bad, making him beg for mercy. Then Jojiro explains that Now only disappears for the person she targets, and everyone else can still see her perfectly. So Now tells Yuu she wants him on the student council because she thinks he can be helpful. After getting tossed around like a party bag, Yuu drags himself home where his sister Ayumi greets him. She's super hyped, telling him they're both going to Hoshinumi Academy and that she made his favorite omelet rice to celebrate. So while they're eating, Ayumi tells Yuu she gets this feeling like they have another brother or sister chilling somewhere out there. Of course, Yuu just brushes her off, telling Ayumi she needs to stop making up imaginary siblings. Then the next day, the two of them move into Hoshinumi Academy, and Ayumi bounces around her new room like a hyper kid at a carnival. So later that evening, Yuu finds Yumi and explains he's switching schools, suggesting maybe she could visit. But Yumi tells Yuu she has a good dad and isn't about to chase after some dude. With that, she gives him a quick cold goodbye, leaving him feeling trash. The next day, Yuu gets ready for his new beginning. Then, looking in the mirror, Yuu admires himself, thinking God must have spent extra hours on him. And as he leaves, he's met by a super cheerful Ayumi, who yet again gives him omelet rice for lunch. So sick of the same meal every single day, Yuu thinks to himself that Ayumi kinda deserves to be treated like a side quest wife from a cheap ad. So getting to his new school, Yuu is greeted by Now and Jojiro. Curious about the spot, Yuu asks Now if literally everyone there has powers. Now explains that most students are either about to get powers or have only shown tiny little hints. Yuu scoffs at how strict it sounds, until Now tells him how before this school existed, kids with special abilities were snatched and taken to labs where they were poked and prodded like lab rats. Yuu shrugs, saying it couldn't be that bad, which makes Now spill how her own older brother basically lost his mind because of those scientists. So once they reach their spot, Yuu gets annoyed and asks Now why he has to join the council and help them. Now tells him super seriously that their job as the student council is really important. They have to find people with powers before anyone else does, and if those people refuse to chill, they have to scare them into not using their powers. But since Now totally messed with him earlier, Yuu angrily asks why he should even lift a finger for her. Now just casually says he can either make some bank doing this job, or end up working at a fast food spot, scrubbing sus stains off the bathroom walls. In the end, Yuu reluctantly agrees to Now's offer. So later that day, Yuu makes a face as he opens his lunch and finds Ayumi's gross omelet again. All of a sudden, Jojiro shows up and suggests they eat lunch together in the main cafeteria. Yuu glances over at Now, who's eating by herself like a total main character, and asks Jojiro why she's alone. Jojiro says they could invite her, but Yuu shuts that down. Then the guys head to the cafeteria later and find it packed with hungry students ready to throw hands over food. As Yuu wonders how they'll ever get anything to eat through the crowd, Jojiro smirks and says where there's food, there's always a way. He then lays out his plan to use his superpower, which makes Yuu ask how he's going to do that without getting caught on camera. Jojiro tells Yuu he's tripping about the wrong things because once he starts zooming, he won't even know what sandwich he's grabbing. With that, Jojiro bolts towards the sandwich stand at insane speed, snatching a bunch of sandwiches. The lady working there just sighs, looking at the chaos Jojiro made. So later on, Yuu asks Jojiro again why Now eats by herself. Jojiro, acting like a total know-it-all, guesses that everyone probably keeps their distance from Now because first, she's the student council prez, and second, since she's visible to everyone except the one person she decides to ignore, seeing her beat people up in the hallways makes her seem as scary as a female wrestler. Just then, Now walks up to the guys and says their helper is coming. Yuu looks confused, but Jojiro just tells him to head to the student council room. When Yuu gets there, he's met by some guy who looks like a wet noodle. Instead of talking to Yuu or the others, the guy just points at a map and says their next target has psychic photography. Yuu is shocked by the helper's odd behavior and asks what the heck was up with that. Jojiro just casually says the helper's power is sniffing out other people with abilities. So hyped for the next mission, Nao says they're skipping school to find their target. When they get to the target school, Nao rushes around like a maniac asking people about weird stuff. Yu meanwhile hangs back because he doesn't want girls thinking he's with the odd one. Then Nao pops up and tells Yu she found someone acting sus and asks him to use his powers to check the guy's bag. Desperate for a chance to snoop through someone else's stuff, Yu goes with her. When they catch the guy, Yu jumps into his body and makes him dump his backpack while Nao snatches the photos that fall out, which turn out to be spicy pics of a girl. Seeing this, they basically strong-arm the kid into telling them who sold him the pics, threatening him with some nasty stuff involving famous rappers. Not wanting to lose his chill, the kid snitches on his supplier, a guy named Udo. So after looking around for Udo, they find their target chilling at the archery club. Nao confronts Udo, who tries to act all innocent and deny having any powers. Seeing his vibe, Nao tells him there's no point lying because his customer already snitched. Cornered Udo tells Nao he took those creepy pictures to remind guys what their grandpas supposedly died for in wars. Right then he snaps a pic of Nao and warns her to back off or he'll make sure everyone knows her underwear is super basic. Of course Nao can't let that slide, so she uses her power to distract him and snatches the photo, saving her secret and her pride. Nao tells Udo that if he doesn't stop using his powers, she'll leak his entire internet history to the feds. This makes Udo so mad he points an arrow at Nao, but before he can shoot, Jojiro saves Nao just in the nick of time. Once the drama is handled, Nao tells Udo that if he doesn't stop messing with his powers, he'll end up on some weird island getting messed with and cut open by a famous physicist. Now totally shook, Udo gives in and promises to never use his powers again. Since Yu was still curious about Nao's older brother, Nao decides to take him along to meet him. They hop on the train because clearly they aren't rich enough for fancy whips. So during the ride, Nao basically inhales food like a pro eater, treating Yu and the other passengers to a food ASMR show nobody asked for. After stuffing herself, Nao explains that her brother got his powers right when she got into a really good middle school. And in her excitement back then, she flexed to her older brother about how she was going to be the family's breadwinner while he was just some broke musician. Kazuki just laughed and told Nao her future looked pretty grim using a planet pun. He then asked if Nao liked his favorite band Z-Hend, but she said she preferred another band. Sadly, Nao never made it to her fancy school because their mom begged both her and Kazuki to go to a boarding school instead. Kazuki was super mad at first, but seeing his mom practically begging made him realize she couldn't support them using her usual methods anymore, so they ended up enrolling in the boarding school. While Nao was busy making new friends, Kazuki was being experimented on because he had the power to vibrate the air whenever he wanted. The scientists studying him wanted his power for themselves. After a whole year of non-stop experiments, Nao was finally allowed to see her brother, but he wasn't the same guy anymore. Kazuki barely knew who she was, and Nao quickly figured out that all the friends she thought she had were actually spies sent by the scientists to keep her distracted. Nao realized she was also being watched daily because they thought she might get powers too. Before they could turn her into a mindless zombie, Nao escaped with the help of some important guy. Yu tries to ask about this guy, but Nao shuts him down saying they've arrived. So, getting to the hospital, Yu is shocked to see Kazuki tearing up his mattress. A nurse quickly gives him a shot to chill him out. While Yu is stunned, Nao seems totally used to her brother acting like this. Instead of feeling sorry for him, Nao takes Kazuki outside, where Yu sees an amazing view. Nao then spills that it was the important guy who made sure Kazuki would be taken care of peacefully until his last breath. So, after getting back home, Yu is met by Ayumi, who's made vegetable soup. Taking one sip, Yu instantly recoils and asks Ayumi if she put weird bathwater in their food again. Ayumi just smiles and cheerfully says whatever doesn't kill you makes you extra. The next morning, Yu wakes up and finds Ayumi has packed the same old nasty sweet omelet rice for him again. He tells her she doesn't need to pack his lunch anymore because his taste buds are basically cancelled thanks to her awful cooking. But still wanting to troll her brother, Ayumi insists he take lunch just for today. So at school, Jojiro tells Yu they have special limited edition chicken for lunch in the cafeteria. Yu, however, gets bummed out, telling his friend that if it's a limited curry, it'll be gone super quick. Jojiro then reminds Yu that he's incredibly quick when it comes to getting chicken. True to his word, Jojiro bolts out of the classroom, giving Yu a heart attack. By the time Yu gets to the cafeteria, he finds Jojiro covered in his own blood. He sighs and tells Jojiro he should probably see a doctor, but the guy just wipes off the blood and tells Yu he needs to honor the chicken that gave its life for him. As the boys are hyping their food, Jojiro gets a call from Nao. He tells Yu the helper dude is coming again today and they need to rush to the student council office. So at the council office, the helper Kumagami walks in. Curious why Kumagami is always dripping wet like forgotten laundry, Yu asks Jojiro about it. Jojiro explains that Kumagami's special power only works when he's soaking wet. This makes Yuu shiver thinking about how cold Kumagami's downstairs must always be. Moving on, Kumagami tells the group their next target has the power of channeling. Since Yuu is basically clueless, he asks what channeling even means. Now speaks up explaining their target can talk to dead people. Yuu is instantly mind-blown by this power and asks the group if he can use the target to chat with Genghis Khan because he's always wondered how a guy like that managed to have so many kids. Everyone ghosts Yuu while Kumagami adds that this target actually has two powers, channeling and making fire like pyrokinesis. So once Kumagami leaves, both Yuu and Jojiro are stunned to learn someone has two powers. Now joins the guys and points at the map, saying their target seems to be on the move. Not wasting any more time, the three of them head to an alley where the target was last spotted. When they get there, Now quickly senses something sus is happening. They find two sets of footprints, which makes Now think an adult might be chasing a girl. Out on an open road, Now questions a woman who says she saw the famous pop star Yusa being chased by a man but thought it was for a movie, so she didn't get involved. While Now and Yuu try to remember who Yusa is, Jojiro totally loses it, yelling that Yusa is the super famous idol he daydreams about marrying every morning before his alarm goes off. This finally clicks for Yuu, and Yusa is the idol Ayumi stands like crazy. All of a sudden Now spots a sus guy and tells her squad to chase him down. As they catch up to grab the man, the jerk shoves Now, making her fall. Yuu instantly jumps into his body, and Jojiro handles the rest. Now curses, telling the man that if her butt gets any flatter, she'll sell his organs to pay for plastic surgery. Terrified of the small girl threatening him, the man quickly spills that he was hired to follow Yusa. Once the guy is hauled off in an ambulance, Yuu and his team are met by a kid who asks if they're beating people up because they want Yusa's autograph. Now tells him they aren't that wild like Taylor Swift stans, and just want to make sure the idol is safe. At first, the kid refuses to tell them where Yusa is until Now gives him a little show of her own powers. Surprised at first, the kid just scoffs and says his dad is way better at being invisible. He then leads them to a club where the group finds another boy with the idol. Seeing Yusa, Jojiro begs her to let him take just one pick of her big toe. The guys with Yusa look disgusted and ask Now what they want with Misa. Now confused, Now asks if Yusa's real name is Misa, but the guys don't answer. Now talks to Yusa, who sweetly explains that lately it feels like someone else is controlling her body. This made her think she needs to sacrifice 100 virgins to get rid of whoever is inside her. Now replies in the same sweet tone, telling Yusa that centuries ago women were burned at the stake for saying stuff like that. Now then asks Yusa's friends if Misa is one of the spirits Yusa can talk to. They then reveal that Misa is Yusa's older sister who died in a car crash. Suddenly Misa takes over Yusa's body and starts cussing like a drunken sailor. Yuu is shocked to see such a huge personality shift in Yusa because before Misa took over, Yusa seemed like a total angel. Misa in her rage starts torching everything around her, which leads Now to figure out that Yusa has the power to channel the dead while Misa can control fire. Misa confirms this, and after arguing with Now, just for kicks, she reveals why Yusa is being tailed by a big shot producer, and she accidentally got his phone, which has a video of him doing something gross with donuts in his private parts. After hearing this, Now tells Misa she can help them out of this whole sticky situation. So that night, Misa, pretending to be Yusa, calls the producer and his goons. While the producer is harassing Yusa, Misa and Yu's friends take out the producer's crew. Once everything is set, Misa unleashes a fire attack while Now gives the producer an invisible beatdown. Scared for his life, the producer begs for mercy. He gets to live, but only if he promises never to bug them again. Later, Now tells the two guys with Yusa that she has to take Yusa to her school because it's not safe for her anymore. Hearing this, the boy named Sho tells Misa how he's always loved her, but now she's literally going to ghost him. Misa smiles and tells Sho to find a real woman and just move on. After a tearful goodbye, Yuu goes home, totally drained. The next day, Yuu's streak of bad luck starts the moment Ayumi gives him a plate of food. Yuu dies a little inside, thinking he'd rather watch his grandparents do their thing than look at Ayumi's cooking again. But the part of him that wants to be chill convinces him to choke it down. Ayumi quickly sees his face and tells Yuu he looks the same way he did when their pastor got a bit too handsy with him. Yuu assures Ayumi he's totally fine and yeets for school before he gets the stomach issues. So at school, Jojiro is freaking out about Yusa being in their class. Yuu also sees a bunch of guys hyping having the idol in their school. This makes him sigh, thinking about how much drama having Yusa around is going to cause. As Yusa walks into class, the guys erupt into loud cheers, while Yuu stays unbothered, probably hoping someone will make a cool Sigma male edit of him online. But even his tough act softens a bit when Yusa politely asks her classmates to chill because she wants to enjoy her school years with everyone. The teacher then tells Yusa to sit next to Nao, who greets her coldly, which gets the other classmates gossiping about Nao. So later that day, Yusa finds herself mobbed by a group of her male classmates. Some tell Yusa wild made-up stories about saving orphans from fires, while another dude claims he was actually the one who landed on the moon, not Neil Armstrong. A fight suddenly breaks out between the boys as they all try to get Yusa's attention. This makes Yusa sing a song from her band Howlo Hello to calm down the literal toddlers she's surrounded by. Meanwhile, Jojiro is fangirling from afar until Nao shows up and tells them their helper is here. She then drags Yusa away with them, much to everyone else's sadness. So in the student council room, Yusa starts shaking when she sees Kumagami, who announces their next target has telekinesis. Trying to act chill, Jojiro assures Yusa that Kumagami isn't scary, just kinda like a wet dog. Once Kumagami leaves, Nao says their target is a student at Kanai High School and a rising baseball star. Not wasting time, the squad heads to the school where Nao immediately confronts the boy, saying she knows he uses telekinesis to throw his knuckleball. The boy named Arifumi tries to play it cool, telling Nao she sounds like a crazy conspiracy theorist. Annoyed by his attitude, Nao tells Arifumi it's pointless to misuse his power, because by the time he goes pro, the power will probably disappear when he hits puberty anyway. But when Arifumi stays stubborn, Nao challenges him to a baseball game, and if her school wins, he has to do what she says. Arifumi agrees, saying if his team wins, she has to stay out of his business. With the deal sealed, Nao and her crew walk home. Yu asks her how she plans to actually win. Nao casually reveals that since nobody on the normal baseball team has powers, the student council members will just join the game and use their abilities to finesse their way to victory against Arifumi. So the following week, Nao and her team face off against Arifumi and his squad. Before the game, Nao warns her teammates that if they make her lose, she'll make them do a horrible painting chore with a tiny brush. The game starts, and much to Nao's annoyance, Arifumi and his team are totally crushing them. Finally, having had enough, Nao gathers the student council and says they're going to start playing dirty from now on, telling her crew to use their powers. The game takes a wild turn, ending with Nao and her team winning. After the match, Yu finds himself actually enjoying his new school, while Arifumi agrees to play fair from now on. The next day, Yu watches as Yusa keeps being swarmed by crowds of adoring fans. Ticked off, he wonders why everyone acts like Yusa is some kind of goddess who doesn't even use the bathroom like a regular person. Jojiro, being the biggest fanboy ever, tells Yu he bets Yusa probably leaves flowers in the toilet bowl or something. All of a sudden, Yusa sees Nao getting surrounded by a bunch of angry girls. They drag Nao outside, making Yu so curious that he decides to sneak after them like a chicken. Yu watches from a safe distance as the girls jump Nao, who just stands there and takes it silently. Once they leave, Yu figures the girls probably jumped her because she's always beating up other people. He goes over to check on Nao, who just dusts herself off and bluntly tells Yu that if he was really that worried, he should have jumped in earlier. Right before Nao gets a call, she tells Yu their helper is here. So when they get to the student council office, Kumagami states their next target has the power of levitation. Nao gets super hyped, making a Dua Lipa joke, and then throws a magazine on the table, saying she's been following the story of this flying man for a while. As the squad looks at the picture, Yu notes that the guy seems to be chilling deep in the mountains. Based on that, Nao guesses he's probably leveling up his skills and they need to snatch him before he gets more famous than the Kardashians. As the group grumbles about Nao's plan, she excitedly declares it's time for a camping trip in the mountains. So with the plan locked in, Nao heads to the supermarket to load up on food. It also seems like Nao has side quests like purposely annoying vegans by buying huge amounts of meat. Even Yu is shocked by how much meat Nao can devour. Nao, on the other hand, proudly says that for every cow the vegan saves, she'll eat two because she never lets her enemies win. While Yu and Nao squabble, Yusa and Jojiro watch from a distance. Yusa tells Jojiro that Yu and Nao look like an old married couple arguing about money. Jojiro agrees, saying Yu and Nao do look cute together, but clarifies they aren't actually an item. Once the group has everything they need, Nao tells the boys to carry the heavy camping tents, which annoys Yu. He asks her why they have to stay out in the woods for a whole night. Nao tells him they need to wait for the target to reveal himself, because he seems to be in hiding. After a long hike, Nao, acting like the mom of this very chaotic group, tells them to pitch the tents right there. But as Yu and Jojiro are setting up the campsite, Yu falls into a hidden dry well. He angrily yells about why they didn't give him a heads up, and Nao snaps back that he's both dumb and visually impaired. After bickering like a couple who secretly has feelings, Nao announces it's time for the best barbecue the area has ever tasted. So during the meat grilling, Yu asks Yusa how she feels about Misa. Yusa happily reveals that while she was always a femme, Yumi Misa considered herself one of the boys. Hearing this, you can't help but wonder if Misa sometimes possessing Yusa would technically make it a threesome if he ever got Yusa into bed. Later that night, Yu notices Now isn't at the campsite and goes looking for her. After walking deeper into the woods, he finds Now listening to music by herself, which seems like her usual chill vibe. As Yu gets closer, he asks if she's listening to mumble rap, but Now hands him her headphones, revealing a song by Jind. Since Yu usually only listens to basic music, he tells Now he's never heard anything that fire before. Now says Jind was her brother's favorite band. This makes Yu listen closer, and as he does, he suddenly feels like he's zapped to a huge open field. So, after taking off the headphones, Yu tells Now about his weird trip, which gets her super hyped. She tells Yu he's not like other guys because he actually understood the song's deeper meaning. Not wanting any Ride or Die Gen fans to question her own love for the band, Now tells Yu how the lead singer is blind, which is why the music felt so powerful. She also tells Yu he can keep the headphones since she makes bank selling weird stuff to nerdy dudes online. That night, Yu plugs in the headphones and dreams about a boy he's seen many times before in his head. On day 2, the student council decides to eat seafood. After eating, Now shows Yusa to a really janky, makeshift bath area while telling the boys to go wash their dirty selves in the river. This kind of bums Jojiro, who apparently had plans to drink Yusa's bathwater. So after whining a bit, the boys head to the river where Yu realizes Jojiro is actually pretty shredded. Seeing his friend's hot bod, Yu realizes he's just as basic as anyone, then tells Jojiro he has a nice body. Jojiro gives him a serious stare, which makes Yu quickly add no homo. After washing up, the group chills together. Yu says he'd really like to get back to civilization where he has a sister to look after. Now says she can't let him go but tries to make him feel better by saying she's sure their target will show up tomorrow. To Yu's surprise, the target actually does show up at their campsite. He asks the group why they're just chilling in the middle of nowhere. Now lies, saying they're all runaways planning to live there forever. The target, named Sky High Sato, tells Now to just wait a few more years and then ghost her parents to a nursing home. But then Now gets serious and asks the guy if he can fly around and drop bombs on his enemies' cars like some kind of angry bird. Sato tries to deny it at first, but when that fails, he grabs Nao's camera and shoots straight up into the sky. Seeing this, Yu instantly possesses Sato's body. But when he finds himself way up high, he has to force himself to use Sato's power. Luckily, he manages to figure it out and makes a pretty clumsy landing. While he's catching his breath, Jojiro tells Yu that if he had fallen, at least he would have gotten a handicapped parking spot. As Sato lies nearby, Nao and the others go talk to him. Nao tells him to stop using his power if he doesn't want to end up dissected like a frog in science class. Saito reluctantly agrees and Yu finally gets to go home. Over dinner, Ayumi tells Yu that some boy asked her out but she said no. While she's talking, Ayumi starts coughing badly. Yu notices this and tells her to go to sleep and chill. The next morning, Yu checks on Ayumi while sitting by her bed. She apologizes for not being able to make breakfast. Yu tries to cheer her up by joking that at least today Gordon Ramsay wouldn't be screaming about her cooking from across the globe. He then tells Ayumi to skip school and just rest all day. So later at school, Kumagami marks a spot on the map and announces their next target's power is Collapse. But instead of focusing on the possible danger, the four dorks just stare at Kumagami, all suddenly realizing that he seems to have a secret power, instantly making girls simp for him. Shifting his attention back to the map, Yu figures out the target is located in their school's own apartment building. Now wonders who it could be since only teens have powers and everyone should be in school. She guesses the target might be a student who called in sick. Hearing this makes Yu super stressed. Now notices Yu's worried face and asks him about it, but Yu refuses to say anything, not wanting to bug Ayumi while she's sick. As Nao keeps pressing him, Yu reluctantly reveals that Ayumi was the one who called in sick. Hearing this, Nao states that it's actually pretty common for siblings to both get powers. So not wasting any more time, they decide to go visit Ayumi. Yusa gets hyped about meeting Yu's little sister, while Yu gets nervous because Ayumi practically stans Yusa. Before heading to the apartment building, Yusa suggests they bring something nice for Ayumi. Thinking it's a good plan, Yu proposes they get her some rice pudding. So, the group heads to a convenience store where Nao once again uses the chance to snatch a bunch of stuff for herself. As Yu tallies up the cost, he realizes that anyone who weds Nao will end up broke and bald. In the end, Yu makes Nao pay for her own stuff, saying he's a feminist who believes in paying your own damn way. So when they arrive at the apartment, Yu turns to Yusa and tells her she can't just walk in normally because Ayumi might actually pass out from excitement. Reluctantly, Yusa puts on glasses and a mask to hide her identity. But as they walk inside, they notice 3 extra pairs of shoes by the door. Yu opens the door to Ayumi's room and finds her surrounded by her classmates. The girls introduce themselves and explain they came over to chill with Ayumi. Once they leave, Ayumi immediately starts trying to ship Nao and Yu. She bombards them with embarrassing questions, asking if they've started dating yet, which both of them strongly deny. Thankfully, Ayumi's attention soon switches to Yusa. Recognizing her, she gets a massive nosebleed. Now quickly helps her stop the bleeding, but when Yusa takes off her mask, Ayumi gets overwhelmed again, resulting in another nosebleed. Yusa then goes over to Ayumi and gives her some cookies. So later, all of them sit down to eat dinner together. After they finish, Yusa gets a call from her agent. She tells the group she needs to bounce to make a dance video for TikTok to show support for some trendy political trend. Meanwhile, Yu and Nao wash the dishes together while Ayumi watches them, insisting they're totally meant to be a couple. Without even looking up, both Nao and Yu reply that they'd rather move to North Korea than date each other. Later that night, Nao and Yu tuck Ayumi back into bed. When Ayumi mentions she had a dream, Nao starts asking questions, but Yu gently stops her, suggesting they let Ayumi rest. With that, Nao decides to leave and Yu walks her to the door. Before parting, Nao tells Yu to keep a super close eye on Ayumi and make sure she stays inside the apartment building until they know more about her superpower. The next morning, Yu tells Ayumi that even though she feels better, she still needs to stay inside. Ayumi tries to argue, but Yu firmly tells her she absolutely cannot leave. So during the school's lunch break, both Jojiro and Yu get a text from Nao, asking them to meet her at the student council office. When they arrive, Nao tells them she thinks Ayumi has left the apartment building. During their chat, Nao says she has a bad vibe, like something awful is about to go down, pushing them to rush towards the school building. Meanwhile, Ayumi sneaks into the school and hurries to her class. Suddenly, she's confronted by Konishi, a girl with a face only a mother could love. In a creepy voice, Konishi accuses Ayumi of stealing the guy she's liked forever and swears she'll make Ayumi vanish. Terrified, Ayumi turns and bolts with Konishi right behind her. Desperately looking for a spot to hide, Ayumi tries to get into a bathroom stall but finds them all locked. Cornered and shaking, Ayumi's fear takes over, and in a moment of pure panic, she unleashes her superpower. The entire building collapses, while the 4 student council members watch in absolute horror as the structure crumbles right in front of them. In a total panic, Yu dashes towards the wreckage and starts frantically digging through the rubble, desperate to find his sister. As he claws through the debris, a loud creaking sound suddenly grabs his attention. Then, looking up, his heart stops, as he sees a massive chunk of concrete breaking loose and falling straight towards him. When Yu wakes up all bandaged in a hospital bed, the very first thing he does is ask about Ayumi. The doctors gently tell him that Ayumi didn't make it through the collapse and she's gone. In that single moment, Yu feels like his whole world just shattered. During the funeral, Yu is completely zoned out, barely hearing the condolences people offer him. Then returning to his cold, empty apartment, Yu is crushed by the silence that's now everywhere. He goes into Ayumi's room and pulls out her best picture. With a heavy heart, Yu realizes with typical self-love that he's definitely the better-looking one in the fam. Suddenly, memories flood his mind and all the times Ayumi was just there for him. Overwhelmed with guilt, Yu breaks down, crying his eyes out for all the moments he totally took for granted. As the night gets deeper and darker, Yu feels hunger hitting him, so he goes to the kitchen to find something to eat. Right then, he actually starts missing Ayumi's terrible cooking. With no other options, he digs through the cabinets, opening them one by one, looking for anything edible. Then he remembers the food their uncle had sent over. He grabs a few instant ramen cups and starts devouring them, making a total mess of the kitchen. Trying to numb the pain, Yu turns on the TV and just stares blankly until a knock on the door startles him. Then looking through the peephole, he finds Jojiro and Yusa standing there, smiling warmly. Yusa says she made stew with her special cream to cheer him up. But when Yu doesn't open the door, Misa takes over Yusa's body and drops the stew. She angrily yells about how she fainted tons of times while milking herself to make the creamiest stew just for Yu. Jojiro, on the other hand, starts crying and tells Misa he would have sacrificed his whole family just to eat that stew. Days go by and the floor next to Yu's couch gets buried under empty ramen cups. One day, Yumi Shiriyanagi shows up, but Yu doesn't even notice her. She asks how he's doing, and Yu basically tells her that if she's not there for a good time, she should just bounce. Pointing at the trash, Yumi offers to clean up, but Yu just shrugs and tells her he always wanted a hot maid anyway. Looking totally done, Yumi then asks Yu to go get pancakes with her, but he refuses and asks why she's trying to act like his mom. Not giving up, Yumi tells Yu that since he's not some sparkly vampire, he should go outside with her. This makes Yu snap, kicking all the ramen cups everywhere in a rage as he yells at her. Yumi finally gets the hint that Yu doesn't want her there and leaves. After Yumi leaves, Yu tries to find more ramen in the cabinet, but it's empty. Frustrated, he decides he has to go outside to buy more. Just as he's about to peace out, he looks through the peephole and sees some guys waiting outside. Realizing they've come to snatch him, Yu quickly uses his power to possess one of them and escapes the building. Once he's free, Yu gets some cash and hops on an express train determined to get as far away as possible. After getting off the train, he finds a tiny one-bedroom spot and goes back to hiding from the world. He switches from ramen to pizza, eating tons of it while avoiding any human interaction. As more days pass, Yu eventually realizes he hasn't actually touched grass in a long time. He pulls up his hood and ventures out, keeping his face hidden. While wandering around, he spots some mitarashi dango, sweet rice dumplings, and impulsively buys a whole bunch. While stuffing his face with them, he watches some guys playing a video game. Intrigued, he joins in, blasting away zombies one after another. The quick hit of good vibes makes him feel better for a bit, and he soon gets hooked, binging on pizza mitarashi dango and playing the zombie game non-stop. A few days later, Yu goes to the arcade and sees a group of guys playing his favorite game. He waits patiently for them to finish, but when they just keep playing, he calls them out, demanding a turn. They turn around and glare at him, treating him like trash. Without warning, the thugs drag him out of the arcade and get ready to jump him. However, Yu quickly possesses them one by one and uses his powers to make them punch each other. Once they're all down, he walks over to one of the guys and stabs his leg with the sharp sticks from the mitarashi dango. He then warns the guy to stay out of his lane, or he'll send him to hell, to explain some weird acronym to the ancient Romans. The next day, Yu gets cornered by another gang trying to rough him up. The leader, Hamada, asks if Yu was the one who took down the Gandu gang all by himself. Proud of what he did, Yu just smirks, which makes Hamada threaten that after tonight, Yu won't forget his name. Yu just scoffs and tells the guy no girl would ever date him because his name sounds goofy. When the gang members try to jump him, Yu possesses them one by one, making them hit each other. In the chaos, he possesses one guy who ends up stabbing Hamada in the leg. Popping up next to Hamada, Yu holds the dango stick dangerously close to his eye and asks if he wants to become a one-eyed pirate. The gang leader begs for mercy, and Yu walks away, cackling like a total psycho. Going from reluctant hero to total menace, Yu keeps picking fights with different gangs. After beating another gang, Yu notices one of the guys struggling to grab something that fell out of his pocket. Curious, Yu picks it up and opens it, finding what the narrator calls Snoop Dogg's breakfast, and that's drugs. Feeling pretty pleased with himself, Yu rolls a joint and is just about to spark it when someone kicks it right out of his hand. Looking up, he sees Now standing there. He asks her how she found him, and she casually reminds him that since she's basically a pro stalker, her words she used her ability to follow him. With total confidence, Now tells Yu that after just one bite of her home-cooked food, he'll want to go back to being his old self. Back at her place, Now cooks Yu omelet rice, which instantly reminds him of Ayumi. For a split second, he wonders if dating Now would make him like Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. He shakes off the weird thought and eats the meal. For the first time in a long time, Yu actually smiles. After thinking it over, he decides to rejoin the student council. The next morning, Yu gets ready to peace out for school. But before leaving the house, he takes a quick moment to look at Ayumi's picture, comparing her looks to Kim Jong-un's in his head. After getting to his class, Yu is welcomed back by Jojiro and Yusa. This really grinds her fanboys' gears, who glare at Yu with jealousy. Seeing the looks on their faces, Yu feels uneasy, realizing that if he doesn't keep his distance from Yusa, he might end up being the star of a true crime documentary. Yusa also picks up on the bad vibes and decides to calm the guys down by singing one of her Hello Hello songs. Yu smiles as he watches all the boys, including Jojiro, go absolutely wild over what he thinks is just a basic kid's song. During the lunch break, Jojiro bolts off to grab lunch for both of them. When Yu gets to the cafeteria, he asks Jojiro if trying to speedrun his way into an early grave is his idea of a warm welcome back. Jojiro snaps back, telling Yu he must have been seriously touch-starved as a kid if basic kindness confuses him so much. As they keep eating, Jojiro suddenly gets a text from Now. Thinking they've been called to the student council to track down another ability user, both he and Yu quickly rush to the council room. But when they get there, Kumagami is nowhere to be found. Instead, Now explains she called them there for something else, to watch Yusa's new music video. Hearing this, Jojiro goes into full-on simp mode, running around the office like a maniac, totally overwhelmed with excitement about seeing an exclusive sneak peek of Yusa's video. Yu can't help but think again how ridiculously obsessed his friend is. Now then pops in the CD and starts playing the video on the big screen. During the song, Now has to kick Jojiro away from the screen before he can try to lick it. When the song finally ends, Jojiro is practically drooling all over the screen in awe. Meanwhile, for the first time ever, Now actually compliments Yusa's performance though, in her usual no-nonsense way. She gives Yusa points for vocals, the song, and the clothes, but then subtracts a bunch of points for making her cringe, leaving Yusa with a pretty low score. The rest of the afternoon is spent watching Yusa's video on repeat, so Jojiro can stare at the idol's armpits, until he's sure the image will be burned into his brain when he kicks the bucket. Totally done with watching the same video endlessly, Yu turns to Now and asks when Kumagami's gonna show up. now casually tells him Kumagami isn't coming at all. Annoyed, Yuu demands to know why she called them there in the first place. In response, Now pulls out 2 tickets to a Gend concert, revealing she only has 2, and they need to figure out who gets to go. Yusa, confused, asks what Gend even is. Jojiro eagerly jumps in, calling it a rock band, but Now quickly yells at him, correcting that it's actually post-rock. Not interested, Jojiro says he'd rather pour cement in his ears than listen to that kind of music. Yusa also passes, joking that if she wanted something that boring, she would have dated Nao's sugar daddy. With everyone else saying no, Nao finally looks at Yuu. After hesitating a bit, Yuu reluctantly agrees to go with her. So later, while walking back to his apartment, Yuu notices a blind girl with long pink hair passing by. He quickly realizes she's not from Japan, and hoping to score a green card, somehow he stops to chat with her. Suddenly, he's reminded of the huge field he imagined when he first heard Gen's music. Sensing him nearby, the girl walks over and in broken Japanese asks if he can take her to get manjiaki. Yuu corrects her, saying it's called something else entirely, making a joke, and then agrees to go with her. So at the restaurant, Yuu orders the noodles, and a wave of sadness hits him as he starts missing Ayumi again. When the waiter asks if they want to cook the food themselves at the table, Yuu tells him the girl is blind, so it would be better if the waiter did it for them. The waiter instantly recognizes the girl as Sala Shane, who then introduces herself as the lead singer of Gend. After their meal, they leave the restaurant. Sensing Yuu's sadness, Sala bluntly tells him he sounds like one of those guys on Reddit who lose everything in a messy divorce. Feeling a bit exposed, Yuu admits he recently lost his sister Ayumi. They walk to a nearby park where Yuu opens up about how meaningless his life feels, comparing it to a silent letter in a word. Sala, understanding his pain, offers to pay her respects to Ayumi. After taking Sala to his place, Yuu watches as she prays for his sister. Once she's done, Yuu excuses himself and calls Nao, realizing he usually only hits her up late at night to send sus pictures. When Nao answers, he tells her he's with Sala, thinking she'll be super impressed. But much to Yuu's dismay, Nao just shrugs it off, saying she's not some obsessed K-pop stan who'd freak out over being near an idol. After Nao hangs up, Yuu goes back inside and asks Sala if she can come with him to a very special place for special people. To Sala's surprise, Yuu actually takes her to meet Kazuki at the institution, calling it a fancy loony bin where he's once again trashing pillows. When Sala learns from Yuu that Kazuki used to be her fan, she starts singing a song to chill him out. Once Sala finishes singing, Kazuki seems much more stable than usual. After leaving the singer, Yuu gets a call from Nao, who excitedly reveals that her brother seemed to recognize her, which hadn't happened before. She thanks Yuu and promises to link up at the concert tomorrow. On the day of the concert, Yuu, wanting to look good for Nao, tries on a bunch of different outfits, trying to look super drippy. After putting in a lot of effort, Yuu stares at his reflection and reminds himself that his confidence should be enough to impress Nao, saying he's a real panty dropper. When he arrives, Yuu spots Nao and tells her that if they lived back in the day, he would have accused her of witchcraft because she looks stunningly beautiful. Nao ignores his cheesy compliment, implying she's only into sugar daddies. Yuu tries to brush off the rejection by asking Nao why they're at the venue so early. Nao reveals she wants to buy some Gend merch, which prompts Yuu to tease her about being a secret fangirl. Nao gives Yuu a death stare, shutting him up instantly. On the way, Yuu wonders how he and Nao actually got so tight, considering how much they low-key beefed at the start. Just as the question pops into his head, Yuu looks up at his Gend banner and realizes the band somehow linked them up. Once the concert starts, Sala totally slays the stage like a real rock star. Yuu and Nao find themselves vibing to the music too, until Yuu's head starts throbbing. His face goes pale as he thinks he somehow recognizes the song. All of a sudden, his head fills up with flashes of memories he can't process or place. This overload makes him freak out, and eventually Yuu passes out cold. In a different scene, a memory flashback, Yuu is sitting at a computer with Ayumi next to him. He's excitedly telling her how fire the Gend song he just heard was. As they get up to leave, Yuu notices an old man he's seen around before. The old man starts lecturing Yuu about how classical music is better, and Yuu just replies dismissively, "Okay, boomer." The old man named Saitu then asks if Ayumi is Yuu's sister. When Yuu confirms, Saitu says he feels bad for him. After chatting with the researcher, Saitu, Yuu, and Ayumi get in line for food. Yuu gripes that the food tastes like bad British cooking and suspects it's laced with drugs. Ayumi, on the other hand, just says she's happy to eat with her brother and wishes their older brother could join them. Yuu hushes Ayumi, reminding her quietly that Shunsuke's time-traveling power is too precious for the researchers to let him roam free. While eating, Yuu thinks about how the researchers only know about his body possessing power, and if they ever found out about his real power, they'd lock him up just like Shunsuke. Suddenly, Kumagami sits down behind Yuu and tells him he found someone with telepathy, but that person is already snatched by the researchers. To save this person, Kumagami tells Yuu to possess a specific boy nearby who has the power to pulverize things. Yuu does what he's told. Kumagami then slips him a piece of paper with the telepath's location. Before leaving, Kumagami tells Yuu everyone is relying on him. Later, as both Yuu and Ayumi are getting scanned, Yuu thinks about how the plan to rescue his brother Shunsuke is in motion. That same day, Ayumi tells Yuu the researchers have called her for special tests. This news totally shatters Yuu's world. He begs the guards not to take Ayumi, stressing she doesn't even have any powers. Of course, since Yuu isn't powerful or loaded, the guards just tase him and lock him up. Yuu wakes up later to the whole place shaking, making a dark joke about whose mom is causing an earthquake. Alarms start blaring, scaring Yuu. In the end, he can't break down the door because he's not some Marvel character. All of a sudden, the good researcher Saito opens Yuu's cell door. Seeing Saito covered in injuries and blood, Yuu makes a crude joke about period blood. Saito then reveals the messed up truth, and the researchers forcibly activated Ayumi's power, causing massive destruction because Ayumi has the power of collapse. Scared for his little sister, Yuu asks Saito if they'll lock Ayumi up like Shunsuke. But the doctor says Ayumi is too dangerous, and the evil researchers plan to dissect her, adding another crude comment about where her parts might end up. As Yuu is lost in shock, the researcher tells him to use his ultimate power, Plunder. Yuu asks how he knows about it, but Saito basically tells him to stop asking dumb questions because his sister is about to be chopped into bits. Yuu snaps back to reality and rushes to find the boy with telepathy. Once he finds him, Yuu possesses his body and then unleashes his second ability, Plunder, which lets him steal and use other people's powers permanently. Now with telepathy, Yuu manages to contact Shunsuke, who is locked in a cell. Shunsuke learns everything about Ayumi's situation, but since he can only activate his time-leaping power by seeing, he tells Yuu he's useless. Yuu tries to find help when a boy named Shichino phases through the wall saying he's there to help. He tells Yuu to hurry and take his power. Once Yuu does, Shichino lets the guards capture him. Now armed with telepathy and phasing, Yuu quickly walks through the cell wall and frees Shunsuke, who then uses his power to time travel and change the future. Back in the present, Yuu wakes up in the hospital. Now tells him he was out cold. Yuu tells Now he now believes he has an older brother. Suddenly Kumagami walks in, confirming that Yuu's memories are back. Now looks at Kumagami, who is now dry, and remarks that he looks kinda fine when he's not resembling a wet dish rag. Kumagami ghosts Now because he's too busy for that romance stuff and tells Yuu he'll take him to meet Shunsuke. Hearing the name Now reveals that it was Shunsuke who helped her get help for Kumagami before. Without wasting more time, Kumagami takes Yuu to meet his brother, and Now decides to tag along because she's into older guys. Arriving at Shunsuke's hideout, Yuu feels a bit awkward seeing Shunsuke, who still feels like a stranger even with the memories. Understanding Yuu's hesitation, Shunsuke says he's ready to spill the tea. Shunsuke starts by explaining that to avoid ending up in the lab, he traveled back in time. He explains he woke up in his younger body but kept all his knowledge of the next 3 years. Knowing how key Kumagami would be, Shunsuke describes aggressively confronting him like he was going to take him to Pound Town quickly, clarifying his non-romantic intentions and explaining their past friendship, eventually convincing a skeptical Kumagami. Since Kumagami has the power to sniff out other ability users, he took young Shunsuke to a hideout where a group of kids with powers had already gathered. Arriving there, Shunsuke jokes about them forming their own secret society. However, the 3 kids already there look at him like he's got a third eye. To win their trust, Shunsuke points at Shichino and proves his knowledge by stating Shichino's phasing power. Moving on, he tells the girl Madoki, calling her plain, that she has hypnotism, which also makes her sleepy. Lastly, he points at Metamari and states his power is erasing memories. This show finally convinces the group Shunsuke is for real, and they agree to follow his plans. Shunsuke tells them their first goal was to find more kids with special abilities. But even after building a whole network of powered kids, Shunsuke failed because when the authorities came, the adults always caught them and they couldn't free themselves. This made Shunsuke realize he needed help from grown-ups to fight the bad grown-ups. So after time traveling again, Shunsuke explained the new plan, and Kumagami said he knew a couple of adults who might believe them because they used to have powers too when they were young. Shunsuke recounts how he had to try this whole process 4 times, noticing his eyesight getting worse each time. During one of his 15th birthday bashes, he got the idea to raise cash to hire adults who could help them. Kumagami agreed and they started trying to get funds, but the researchers always managed to snatch up these potential adult allies before Shunsuke and his crew could. Shunsuke explains that after another time travel attempt, he celebrated his 15th birthday again. This time he was way more focused on protecting his siblings. He remembers Yuu mentioning something about high school, which sparked the idea to create a special school where he could watch over and protect kids with abilities from being poked and prodded. He called Kumagami and shared his goal to keep these kids safe until they hit puberty when their powers would naturally disappear. Shunsuke also stated this would be his very last try before he went totally blind. After waking up from his final time jump, Shunsuke found his eyesight was totally shot. However, his determination to protect his siblings and friends became his new motivation. Shunsuke and the group worked non-stop to set up the school, and eventually they pulled it off. Once the school was up and running, Shunsuke decided he had to wipe Yuu and Ayumi's memories because he couldn't run a school and babysit them at the same time. So with the help of his friends like Mari, he erased Yuu and Ayumi's memories. Once that was done, Shunsuke focused on building more schools across Japan to protect as many children as possible. Back in the present, Shunsuke tells Yuu it's finally time to save Ayumi. When Shunsuke tells Yuu to possess him and take his power, Yuu is confused. Now then explains that she and Jojiro always knew about Yuu's real power, Plunder, because Kumagami had told them before they even came to recruit him. Hearing this, Yuu asks now why they didn't tell him sooner, and he could have just snatched other users' abilities instead of dealing with them one by one. Now reveals they didn't know what the side effects of taking everyone's powers might be, so they decided to keep it on the down low. Shunsuke then jumps back in, urging Yuu to take his power and use it to save Ayumi. Yuu complies, taking Shunsuke's time travel ability. He immediately uses it to go back to the night Ayumi first got sick. As Yuu watches over her, he feels a mix of old vibes and new determination. The next morning, when the student council starts suspecting someone in the apartment building has powers, Yuu speaks up and suggests they check on his sister, knowing exactly what's about to happen. Events unfold just like they did before, with the sus girl visiting Ayumi, but this time Yuu keeps a close eye on her. When night falls, Yuu tells Now he's from the future and that his sister is supposed to die the next day. Without hesitating, Now believes him and agrees to get the student council involved in his plan. The next day, instead of keeping Ayumi home, Yuu uses Plunder to take her collapse power, then sends her to school while he follows closely with the other student council members nearby. When the confrontation with Konishi happens, Yuu steps in, scares her off, and then safely walks Ayumi out of the school. As they're walking, Yuu spots Kumagami and calls him by the special nickname Shunsuke, Yuu signaling that he knows everything now. Recognizing the sign, Kumagami takes Yuu straight to Shunsuke. Arriving at Shunsuke's base, Yuu introduces Ayumi to Shunsuke, revealing he's their older brother. Ayumi is totally confused, unsure how to process this news. Shunsuke approaches them and starts explaining why he brought them there, but Yuu cuts him off, saying he already knows the drill. Yuu then fills Shunsuke in on everything he did, including what happened before he time traveled. Shunsuke is genuinely impressed and praises Yuu for pulling off the mission flawlessly. Yuu smiles and asks Shunsuke if they can finally go home now, but sadly Shunsuke says none of them can go back to a normal life. He then tells Yuu that having the ultimate power, Plunder, makes him more famous and thirsted after than even huge celebs like a Kardashian sister. Shunsuke then leads them to a research facility, where Yuu recognizes Saito from his dreams and memories. Furious, Yuu demands to know why they're there. The researcher starts explaining they're working on a vaccine to stop people from getting the illness that causes superpowers. Puzzled, Yuu asks why their powers are considered an illness. The scientist then reveals the existence of a comet named Charlotte that passes Earth every so often, raining down dust that gives people special abilities when breathed in. He explains this is the same thing that caused witches to be hunted back in the day. Hearing this, Yuu smiles, and suggests to Shunsuke they can go home once they're all vaccinated. But Shunsuke crushes his hopes again, stating they have a ton of work to do because the vaccines are only made in Japan, while kids in other countries are still in danger. Yuu asks how that's their problem, which annoys Shunsuke, who warns Yuu that his no-filter way of talking will get them cancelled someday. Later, Yuu and Ayumi meet Shunsuke's friends who really vibe with Ayumi, while Yuu feels like the third wheel, just like always. The next day, Kumagami senses another ability user has popped up. He tells Yuu he's going to give Now and Jojiro an update. As he sits in his car, he notices his driver Furuki shaking nervously. When the driver takes a wrong turn, Kumagami gets concerned and reaches for his phone to call his friends. But before he can dial, Furuki apologizes, explaining his family is in danger and the people holding them hostage told him to bring Kumagami to them. Understanding the situation, Kumagami agrees to go with Furuki. When they reach an abandoned warehouse, Kumagami is met by a group of men who tell Furuki he has one more task. Once Furuki leaves, the men start torturing Kumagami to make him give up all the info on other ability users. When Kumagami refuses, a big dude punches his teeth out. Not wanting to give his kidnappers the satisfaction, Kumagami just laughs and says now he doesn't have any teeth anyway. Now really heated, Kumagami's kidnappers inject him with truth serum, which makes him spill all the tea. So that night, using the info they got, Kumagami's kidnappers raid the school Shunsuke created and snatch Now. The same night, Shunsuke gets a call telling him that Kumagami and Nao's lives are in danger. If he wants to save them, he has to hand over Yuu. Before hanging up, the bad guy warns Shunsuke they've been plotting this for ages, meaning he can't just time travel his way out of this jam.